That works. The beginning of Mark starts building this case. From the very first verse, the beginning of the gospel about Jesus Christ, the Son of God. That's Mark 1, verse 1. It's easy to remember. These terms, Christ, Son of God, these are some loaded terms. They aren't just face value. There's meaning here. When you dive into what these terms mean, the author of this letter, of this gospel, is making a statement. He's saying, this is who Jesus is. This is his gospel. And so the next several chapters, he proceeds to build a case. And starts in chapter 1. Chapter 1 is just bam, 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 teaching miracle, going through. And all the way through the first 8 chapters, it gets to this until the climax of the whole book. In chapter 8, after building this case for several verses, finally reached this point where Jesus says, who do people say that I am? The apostles, they say, well, some say John the Baptist. Others say Elijah, and still others one of the prophets. They gave him the survey says, family feud answers. Jesus says, but who do you say I am? Peter answered, you are the Christ. This word Christ, Messiah there, synonymous. When you hear Christ, think Messiah. When you hear Messiah, think Christ. This book has been building this case, and finally, Peter comes out and says what everyone's already been thinking. And if you've been reading this, you already know. The author doesn't make it some detective mystery where they're building all the clues, and finally at the end there's this big reveal. Peter and the apostles are some of the last people to get it. If you're reading this, you already understand. You've seen through the teachings, and through the miracles, and through the actions. Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God. And from this point on, first half of the book is building this case. The second half is kind of a road trip. They're heading south. Jesus and his disciples are heading south down to Jerusalem, teaching and doing miracles along the way. And after they've built this case, now that we know that Jesus is the Messiah, well, everybody that was a Jew knew in that day, well, what's the Messiah going to do? Messiah is going to set his people free. Messiah is going to break away the chains of the Roman Empire. He's going to make us a free people again. Everyone knew this. If you were a good Jew, it was just understood. Coming up, one day the Messiah is going to come. And when that happens, we'll be freed. So after the first half of the gospel makes the case that Jesus is the Messiah, the second half is just road trip towards Jerusalem. And again, we know what happens in Jerusalem. They didn't in Jesus' day, but they thought they did. They thought that he was going to enter the town, enter the city gates, and everyone was going to welcome him as king. He was going to set up this throne, and he was going to, wham, bam, kind of a combination of Rambo and Chuck Norris. He's going to kick out the Romans. God's people will be freed. That's not what happens, at least not in the way that they expected to. So Jesus enters Jerusalem. He enters in riding on a donkey. Can't say the other word, but enters riding on a donkey, which is a sign of Messiah. Everyone knew, okay, this is it. He's doing everything right. He's riding in on the right animal. He's coming to the right town. He's done all the right teachings and miracles. And here it comes. What we have waited for generations is going to happen. thought. Let's look in chapter 11, starting in verse 11, at what does happen. Jesus entered Jerusalem and went into the temple courts. He looked around at everything, but since it was already late, he went out to Bethany with the 12. The next day, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Then he said to the tree, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard it. This is weird. If you haven't picked up from last week, I have a passion for finding weird things in the Bible and looking at it a little bit more. This is weird. Jesus has been on this road trip heading south towards Jerusalem, and everyone knows when the Messiah gets to Jerusalem, that's when the fireworks really start. So they're looking forward to this, and you see, starting in chapter 11, verse 1, this is the section that most Bibles, if you have a subheading, it'll say the triumphal entry, or the triumphant entry. They're waving palm branches, and they're saying, "Hosanna, come save us." You're the Messiah. Of course you're going to come save us. So everyone's got these expectations of what this Messiah is going to do. And he comes in, he goes to a temple, but it's already late, so they head back and get to their rooms in the Bethany Best Western and spend the night, wake up in the morning, and start on their way back to Jerusalem. And along the way, which is pretty typical if you're on a road trip, Jesus gets hungry. So he decides that he's going to get some figs. Makes sense. Decent fruit. Quick, convenient. When he gets to the fig tree, there are no figs. Well, if it were me, I'd say, tough luck. Let's find another tree or animal or something we can eat. Or maybe even just hold it till we get to Jerusalem and find something there. But Jesus engages in this massive overreaction. He sees the tree in leaf, not in fig season. It's okay, because Jesus was a carpenter, so he didn't necessarily have to know all the horticulture stuff about fig trees. But when there's no figs, you would expect him to move on. I would move on. Find another source of fruit. Or better still, we've already established that Jesus is the Messiah. He wants figs. He can say, "Make figs." Boom, figs. He doesn't do that. Why doesn't he do that? What is the purpose of this? We'll get back to that. Keep that in your head. What is the purpose of this? On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple courts and began driving out those who were bullying or buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, "Is it not written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations,' but you have made it a den of robbers"? The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared him, because the whole crowd was amazed at this teaching. So we've got one weird thing after another. There's a whole episode with the fig tree, which we're going to get back to. But then Jesus gets into the temple. And if you're the apostle, or one of the apostles, you're going to be thinking, okay, that was really weird what happened back there, but it's okay. If Jesus is hungry, people are really hungry. referencing Scripture. He says, "Is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations?" In Isaiah 56th chapter, and you don't have to turn there, I'll read it for you. Isaiah said, "The sovereign Lord declares, he who gathers the exiles of Israel, I will gather still others to them, besides those already gathered. Come, all you beasts of the field, come and devour all you beasts of the forest." Israel's watchmen are blind. They lack all knowledge. You see this? It says, "The sovereign Lord declares, I will gather still exiles to them." A few verses earlier, it says, "These I will bring to my holy mountain, give them joy in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and my sacrifices will be accepted on my altar. For my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations." Jesus is quoting Scripture here because this is the temple grounds where the Gentiles are allowed to go. Do a real quick geographical lesson for you. The temple had layers. The very outmost layer of the temple, Gentiles could get to, but Jews could go further. This was only for Gentiles that were in the process of becoming Jews, learning the teachings. And so Jesus comes into this, expecting it to be a house of prayer for all nations. People come from hundreds of miles to be here to worship, to make sacrifices, to pray to his Father. Instead, he sees a bazaar. In fact, a bizarre bazaar. There's these animals trampling the temple courts. There are money changers ripping off the poor that have traveled all this way in the name of religion. Does that still happen today? Send me $5, whatever you pray to come true. This still happens, but Jesus sees this. He sees the temple, his Father's house of prayer for all nations, being misused. And it enrages him. So he flips the tables. He gets pretty mad. And we see all of this going down, and this is the point. According to Mark, this is the point where the chief priests and the teachers of the law decide, okay, this guy is irritating, but this is across the line. We got to do something about this because we keep looking sucked into his teachings. So we got to do something to stop it. He's disrupting everything, their whole power structure, everything that they've grown up learning. He is turning it upside down. Can't have that. So they've got to do something about that. This is the point at which Jesus' crucifixion is set. Read on with me a little bit further. When evening came, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. In the morning, as they went along, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots. Peter remembered and said to Jesus, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed is withered." "Have faith in God," Jesus answered. "Truly I tell you, if you say to this mountain, 'Go throw yourself into the sea,' do not doubt in your heart, but believe what you say will happen, it will be done for you. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. When you stand praying, if you will anything against anyone, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive your sins." Another weird thing. We break this into 3 sections of scriptures, and every one of them's got something weird. The overreaction to the fig tree. The Messiah not doing what he's supposed to do in the temple. Not setting up his place of rule, but scaring a bunch of animals, chasing out a bunch of salesmen. And then in this last section, the fig tree that Jesus cursed Israel's purpose is to bear fruit, metaphorically, for God. The temple's purpose is to be a house of prayer for all nations. The fig tree wasn't doing what it was supposed to, so Jesus cursed it. In the temple, it wasn't a house of prayer for all nations, it was a place where people were getting ripped off. So Jesus turns over the tables and scares out the animals. There's a scholar, E.P. Sanders, that has a theory about this that I think holds up. He says, Jesus is not cleansing the temple here. He's not purifying it. He's not making it proper for the system to come back. He is judging it finally. Eschatologically, this is the last word of the temple. He's destroying it, metaphorically. Because the temple's purpose is not being served, and so he demonstrates against its very purpose. He demonstrates against animal sacrifices and against people worshiping, because that's not happening here. Maybe a long time ago. Not anymore. He's saying, if you're not going to serve your purpose, I will destroy it. Metaphorically. He didn't drop like a Jesus A-bomb on the temple and wipe it out. But the temple's purpose was prayer and sacrifice. And he demonstrates against this. And then when they come to the fig tree, it was withered. And Peter says something about it. Jesus answers talking about prayer. Because the temple was meant to be a house of prayer, but it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. So Jesus says, I tell you, when you pray, you, the people, not standing inside the temple gates, when you pray, here's how you pray. He gives them some instructions. He's saying the temple is not the house of prayer anymore. You are the houses of prayer. The temple goes from being a house of prayer to all nations to a fig tree without fruit. So Jesus says, now the nations are the house of prayer. Seems like the theme running through here from the beginning to the end is that it's in your best interest to serve God's purpose for you. If you're a fig tree, it's what you're supposed to do to produce figs. If you're Israel, God expects you, as his chosen people, to live like that, to act like that. If you're the temple, you better be a house of prayer for all nations and not allow your meaning to be perverted. So what does this mean for us? You're probably thinking, okay, this is a nice story. Very interesting. Learn something new. What does this mean for me? What is our purpose? Individually, each of you, collectively as West Ark, collectively as the body of Christ, what is our purpose? I want you to meditate on this. I want you to think on this. I'm not going to give you the answer. It's not that easy. I want you to think about this. I want you to pray about this. What is my purpose? What is our purpose? Are we fulfilling it? You don't want to be a fig tree that looks like it has fruit, but when you get there, it has none. We don't want to be a temple that has lots of people, lots of hustle and bustle, people there trying to worship God, but Jesus sees through that the perversion that has come of it in the name of greed. Fig trees are supposed to bear figs. We